to the Tuesday Night Touchdown Podcast with your hosts, Reese Downing and Jacob Workman. What's going on, guys? It is TNT Tuesday Night Touchdown Podcast, NFL edition, week 3 picks. With me, as always, is the fine citizen on the other side of the screen there, Mr. Jacob Workman. Jake, how's it going, man?
Everything's good. What's going on?
Not too much. Brutal week for everybody, it seems. Just rough all around. Cards got a big win over the Rams, who seem to have a very serious injury problem, which sucks because we were pretty high on the Rams going into the season here. Dallas got smacked at home by the Saints. Combination of poor defense, and I don't think it's a schematic thing. I think it's an effort thing, but it's also the Saints are just really damn good this year, seems to be. Niners lost in Minnesota. They're also dealing with a bit of an injury bug, but they've got more depth to work with. And then you see the Falcons-Eagles game last night. Super questionable call by Sirianni to throw that ball on third down and short. Gave them an opportunity to stop the clock, and it obviously turned out to bite him in the ass. Captain Kirk drove down the field, scored a touchdown. Jalen Hurts threw a pick to end the game. Unfortunately for me, I have Jalen Hurts on the fantasy team. The other guy had Drake London, and in 48 seconds, I lost that game after I had it pretty much locked up. So a lot of frustration in this week. I went 5-12. Jake went 4-11. Jake did hit his lock with the Chargers. I missed, and we both hit our underdog, which was the Rams. But it wasn't just us that got hit. Gambling world is getting beat pretty badly. Jake, you've got some stats.
Yeah, so week 2, so there were only 3 teams, so 75% of the bets are higher. Only 3 teams covered, which was the Chargers, the Commanders, and the Jets. There were 86% was on the Niners, 81% was on the Eagles, 83% was on the Ravens, 80% was on the Texans, 79% on the Commanders, 78% on the Colts, 76% on the Chiefs, and 75% on the Cowboys. So Vegas racked up this weekend. Quite a good weekend for Vegas. And then also just a little stat here that underdogs of 5.5 points or more this season are now 9-1 against the spread with 5 outright wins. So we're definitely seeing some parity this year.
Yeah, just a little bit. I love it. It doesn't do a whole lot for my pocketbook when you're betting on these games, but the games have been interesting. There's no doubt about that.
I was very happy that my lock was one of the 3 that hit because, God, it was a miserable week for a lot of people.
Yeah, 100%. All right, let's jump into some news and notes here. Chiefs starting left tackle Kingsley Suamataia was benched midway through Sunday's win against the Bengals and was replaced by Wanya Morris. It is unclear if he's going to remain the starter as the season progresses. He's a rookie that they were pretty high on, but apparently he's just not doing the job. Saints running back Alvin Kamara becomes the 5th player in the Super Bowl era to have multiple games with 150-plus scrimmage yards and 4+ scrimmage touchdowns after his dominant performance in New Orleans win over Dallas on Sunday. This is a little interesting. Panthers' second-year quarterback Bryce Young has officially been benched in favor of the veteran Red Rocket himself, Andy Dalton, first reported by NFL Network insider Tom Pelissero. Bryce Young did not complete a single pass over 10 air yards in the week 2 loss against the Chargers. Jake, what do you feel about this move? The broad opinion seems to be that Bryce Young's being used as a scapegoat.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's played his last game for Carolina. I think he's going to get traded now. But I definitely don't put any of the blame on him. The team sucks. Like that team has no one. I guess you change quarterbacks to see if maybe there's a spark, but it's definitely not his fault. That team, when you trade all your best players and all your draft picks and you get nothing in return, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure. I think this is just another. I don't know if this is a Tepper decision or a Canales decision or both or what it is, but yeah, the change, I guess, do it for the spark, but to give up on your number 1 overall pick 2 weeks into year 2 is quite the interesting decision. But Carolina's made a lot of those recently. That's why I will bet against them every week because I think they are the worst organization in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, you see what happened with Baker and some of these other guys that once they leave Carolina, like things start looking a little up. I hope it happens for Bryce Young. I don't have anything against the kid. He's obviously struggling a lot. He's got some, some size limitations to overcome to an extent, but By all accounts, I do not think that this is solely on the shoulders of Bryce Young.
Yeah.
We'll see what Red Rocket can do under center. I don't know.
Yeah, there was a little bit of talk today that there was potential that maybe a trade to Miami would make sense for him. I kind of started thinking, and this, I'm not sure the logistic of this because I'm not sure salary wise how this would work. But if I'm Miami, why would I not try to trade for Stafford right now? Like the Rams are essentially done. Like, I mean, I don't think they have much they can do. Stafford is one or two. I don't think. Well, I won't say this is his last year, especially with all the injuries. But with 1 to 2 years left, he's probably going to play. Why not go get a quarterback that could be brought in, and I think immediately help that team? I mean, I know Miami is more than just their offense. Their defense is going to struggle a little bit too because of all the changes there. But why not go and make a run for it and bring Stafford in and try to win a Super Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, in any team that picks up Matthew Stafford is going to have a benefit. There's like maybe 2 or 3 teams in the league where I would be like, he's not as good as the starter.
Well, last year there was all the talk that the Rams were trying to trade him because of the salary thing, and then they ended up having the really good year. I know McVay doesn't want to lose him because McVay loves him, but when everything's going wrong for them like it is, and he's actually the one that's healthy, I think you could get a decent amount in return for him. And I don't honestly know if they're going to be able to keep Cooper Kupp now because, like, I don't know if you pay Cooper Kupp now that he's going to have back-to-back seasons with huge injury money. Like, that's just not what teams do anymore. So,
yeah,
if you're going to come back into next year with no Cooper Kupp and Stafford probably in his last year, like I just feel like it might be time for the Rams to do some switching. And I don't know. I would be a big fan of a Stafford trade. Put him back there with Jalen Ramsey again. That we saw what happened last time those two were together on a team. So I would love to see that.
Yeah, and I mean Stafford throwing bombs at Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, imagine Mike McDaniel with Stafford with those guys.
I know. That's you talking about this 70-point game from last year. That's going to be a weekly occurrence. I mean, I don't know if it's realistic or not. To be honest, selfishly, I hope it happens primarily because I'm worried about Stafford's health because they keep dropping offensive linemen too. Like,
yeah,
Stafford's not 25 years old. Like, he's not going to be able to take like sack after hit over the course of an 18-week NFL season. That's concerning. And the last thing that I would want to see is that Stafford loses his last year and a half, 2 years because of some injury because the Rams can't protect him, So
yeah,
that's interesting. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on that, see what happens. Let's keep things moving here. Patriots offensive lineman Chukwuma Okorafor, who was benched as their starting left tackle after only a dozen or so snaps in their season opening game against the Bengals, was placed on the left squad list, which I didn't even know was a thing, by New England, and reports are that he is reconsidering if he even wants to continue playing football. Okorafor transitioned from the right side to the left side of the line, and he has struggled with the transition. In his 6+ seasons in the NFL, he has started 60 games, 59 of those being with the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Patriots gave him 12 snaps before they were like, get the hell out of here. So
I think we should call that the Andrew Luck list.
Yeah, that I probably would have known it at that point. Left squad list is something I have not heard of. Titans QB Will Levis continues making poor plays and is drawing public scrutiny from his head coach, Brian Callahan. Last week during the Titans loss to the Bears, Levis was under pressure and threw a pick six on a ball he absolutely should not have thrown. The Bears went on to win that game by 7, and in Sunday's 24-17 loss to the Jets, Levis was again under pressure, this time inside the 10, when instead of just going down for a sack and getting the field goal, he attempted to throw a lateral to Tyjae Spears, which resulted in a fumble and Jets recovery, eliminating the field goal chance. Obviously, the Titans lost that game. As Levis approached the sidelines, cameras caught Callahan asking Levis, "What the fuck are you doing?" After the game, when Callahan was asked about the situation, he said, quote, "I think the camera got it pretty clear if I had to guess. Yeah, I was upset. It was dumb. It was the exact thing he did last week, and it cost us points in the red zone. That is what it is. He's a grown-up, and he knows better. I was really irritated that he cost us 3 points in a game that we probably needed it. We can't have that. He's got to protect our team better. He's got to protect the ball better. It's inexcusable to do those types of things." Callahan has stated since that he has plenty of confidence in Levis, but we'll see how much longer his leash is if he continues to make bonehead plays when it counts.
Yeah,
What were your thoughts on the?
yeah, that was idiotic. That was like something you try in a video game, and I don't. Tennessee should be 2-0. Like realistically, they really should be. If he keeps doing this shit, then obviously he's going to get pulled. But I mean, I think you've got to stick with him so far. But I mean, Tennessee. I remember we were going through their schedule. I didn't pick them to win very many games, but I said this team's actually really good. And they're kind of showing like they're on that path right now. Like, yeah, we're a good team, but we're going to lose every game by like 3 points because we're going to do something just idiotic every game. I still think that this team could actually show up and win quite a few games. This team to me is good, but obviously the turnovers are the key right now. If that changes, I think they start winning a lot of games.
Yeah, we'll see if Levis can get his head on straight. I love the picture. Canales is just giving him the business when he comes off the sidelines. All right. In the fourth quarter, the Bengals lost to the Chiefs. Jamar Chase was penalized for unsportsmanlike conduct, which subsequently stalled a drive. After the game, referee Alex Kemp said Chase was upset at what he believed was a hip drop tackle and used, quote, abusive language towards a game official. Chase did decline to comment after the game, but Chiefs quarterback Trent McDuffie said after the game that was their plan all along, to get inside of Chase's head. So it looked like it worked. The Bengals should have won that game. All right, moving on to some next-gen stats here we found that are interesting. Texas QB CJ Stroud has now gone 7 straight games without throwing a pick. It's the longest active streak in the NFL. Congratulations to the Green Bay Packers, who become the first franchise in NFL history with 800 wins after their Week 2 victory over the Colts. 8 of the last 9 teams to start 2-0 with both wins on the road have made the playoffs, which bodes well for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Raiders defensive end Max Crosby has played 100% of the Raiders defensive snaps so far this year, which is just kind of maddening to me. Cardinals rookie wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. is taking after his pop already. He is the first rookie to have 4+ receptions and 2+ touchdowns in a first quarter since his dad did it in 1996. But cover your ears, Colts fans. Over the first 2 games of the NFL season, Anthony Richardson has more interceptions thrown against man coverage, 2, than he does completions, 1, which goes along the lines of what Jake has been saying since AR stepped into the...
Yep, that's what happens when you're on game 17 of your football career. That's you're not very good.
Yep. Interesting stat for sure. The man cannot handle man coverage. Here's a stat. Vikings Sam Darnold, 72% completion percentage and 111.8 passer rating in 2 games this year. By comparison, Darnold has had the lowest completion percentage and passer rating in the NFL among 39 QBs with at least 1,000 pass attempts since 2018. So he's performing well in the Minnesota Vikings jersey. It's only 2 games in, but so far so good. Finally here, the Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce has just 39 receiving yards so far in 2024, the fewest of any 2-game span in his career. Let's run through some injury updates here. There is a lot, so we'll try to fly through these relatively quickly.
The whole league.
Basically the whole league. Chiefs running back Isaiah Pacheco suffered a fractured fibula during Sunday's win over the Bengals. He is set to have surgery this week. He's going to be missing at least 6 weeks. The Chiefs did announce the signing of Kareem Hunt earlier today. Chiefs tight end Peyton Hendershot, who was previously a Cowboy and was just fined for a sideline shove against Ravens linebacker Roquan Smith in week 1, has been released. We just talked about Tua Tagovailoa suffered a gruesome concussion in Thursday's loss to the Bills. They did announce this afternoon that Tua is heading to IR and he is going to miss at least 4 games. In the interim, they have signed quarterback Tyler Huntley off of Baltimore's practice squad, which interesting signing. While on the topic of the Fins, left tackle Taron Armstead injured his shoulder on Thursday and is considered day-to-day. Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert suffered a lower right leg injury in Sunday's win over Carolina. He did not miss a snap and x-rays came back negative, but something to keep an eye on as the week progresses. Niners running back Christian McCaffrey was officially placed on IR due to both a calf and Achilles issue. He will be out the next 3 to 4 games. It was also announced that wide receiver Deebo Samuel is expected to miss a couple of weeks with a calf strain. Saints all-purpose gadget player Taysom Hill suffered a chest injury during Sunday's win over the Cowboys and went to the hospital as a precaution, but he does appear okay and on track to play in week 3. Ravens cornerback Nate Wiggins is questionable for week 3 after he suffered a neck injury in a car accident that kept him from playing in week 2 against the Raiders. Harbaugh said he is hopeful for his return this week as they travel to Dallas to face the Cowboys. Vikings wide receiver Justin Jefferson considered day-to-day after suffering a quad contusion in Sunday's win over the Niners. Their rookie linebacker Dallas Turner is also considered day-to-day. Giants kicker Graham Gano suffered a hamstring injury during Sunday's loss to the Commanders. He's going to be out for a few weeks. Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins, who has missed the first 2 games of the year with a hamstring injury, sounds to be trending in a positive direction and could make his first start in the coming Monday night matchup against the Washington Commanders. Browns are dealing with multiple injuries right now. Running back Pierre Strong injured his hamstring. He's considered week to week. David Bell is a wide receiver, suffered a dislocated hip. He's going to miss some time. Tight end David Njoku, who was injured in week 1 and missed all of last week's game, has a chance at returning in their week 3 matchup against the Giants. Jets also dealing with multiple injuries. Defensive end Jermaine Johnson suffered a torn Achilles in Sunday's win over Tennessee. He's out for the year. Linebacker CJ Mosley is dealing with an injury to his big toe, but is reporting that he's progressing well towards being available this week. Broncos starting right tackle Mike McGlinchey suffered an MCL sprain that will cause him to miss at least a month. Lions cornerback Terrion Arnold, who suffered a finger injury during Sunday's loss to the Bucs, should be okay to play per head coach Dan Campbell. Texans running back Joe Mixon, who was injured on a hip drop tackle in the second quarter, but returned to finish the game, is undergoing an MRI on his ankle. His week 3 status is in question. Rams wide receiver Cooper Kupp suffered an ankle injury in the week 2 loss to the Cardinals. He was seen leaving the locker room in a walking boot. It is reported that he is going to be, quote, out for an extended period of time. And it does sound like he's probably going to hit IR. This is not great news after recent reports for Puka Nakua's injury. Sounds like he can be out for at least another 5 to 7 weeks. Colts defensive tackle DeForest Buckner suffered an ankle sprain in week 2, loss to the Packers. X-rays were negative, but he still may miss some time in week 3. Jags tight end Evan Ingram injured his hamstring in pregame warm-ups on Sunday. He missed the game against the Browns where they lost. He is considered day-to-day. Bucs defensive tackle Vita Vea has a grade 2 MCL strain. He is considered day-to-day. Titans running back Tyjae Spears, who was knocked out with an ankle injury during Sunday's loss, is considered day-to-day. 2 more teams here. Bears rookie quarterback Caleb Williams is reportedly pretty bruised up after being sacked 7 times during Sunday's loss to the Texans. He does appear like he's going to be on track to play week 3. And finally, Russ Wilson, still nursing that calf injury, and it has been announced that Justin Fields will start again in week 3. So we are going to get week 3 of the Pittsburgh Steelers and Justin Fields. Woo! Let's hope that this injury bug goes away because it's a lot.
It's a lot. Chiefs signing Kareem Hunt is interesting to me because they already have Rashee Rice with issues. So I guess they're maybe just trying to be the picking up everyone from the California Penal League. So that's it's an interesting pickup for the Chiefs. And the hip drop tackle, that's what kind of took out Cooper Kupp also. That wasn't flagged.
Yeah, that wasn't flagged. Yeah, that's it's. I know they're gonna have to figure it out from an officiating standpoint because some of them are getting called, some of them aren't. But this is something you're gonna have to train out of players. I don't think it's something that's just gonna immediately stop. So, All right, guys, let's jump into picking some games here. Let's get this moved over. All right, first. We've got Thursday night matchup features the 1-1 New England Patriots as they travel to East Rutherford to face off against the 1-1 New York Jets, 8:20 Eastern at MetLife Stadium on Amazon Prime. Patriots are coming off an tight overtime loss to the Seattle Seahawks at home, while the Jets are returning from Nashville after a 24-7 win over the Titans. Jets are favored by 6.5.
Yeah, I believe this is Aaron's what might end up being his first full game in New York. I know he got hurt there 4 plays in last year. I like the Jets to go home. I think this is going to be a pretty good atmosphere. I think for an NFL stadium, I think the crowd's going to be ready for Aaron to finally get to show up. I like the Jets to cover this. I do think the 37 is kind of correct for over-under. I think it's going to be a really low-scoring game, but I do like the Jets to get the cover in this one.
Yeah, the Jets haven't won a home game against the Pats in over a decade, which I find kind of amusing. I think that changes here, but I am going to take the Patriots plus the points here. I just think the spread's a little too much. I do think the Jets are going to win this, but I think New England's been playing tight defense. They can probably keep it within 6, so I'm going to take the Pats here. First of our Sunday games features the 0-2 New York Football Giants heading to the rock and roll capital of the world to battle the 1-1 Cleveland Browns, 1 p.m. at Cleveland Browns Stadium on Fox. New York continues their road trip after a 3-point loss to the Commanders in Washington, while the Browns return home after getting an 18-13 win over the Jags in Jacksonville. The Browns are favored by 6.5.
Yeah, you mentioned it in the injury thing there, but the Giants would have beat the Commanders if Graham Gano didn't get hurt on the opening kickoff. I don't know why they even put him out there. He got hurt in pregame, and then the opening kickoff just it was over. Like he was out for the game. Then they had no kicker, so they didn't kick at all during the game, and they would have easily won the game had they would have been able to kick. Going on the road to Cleveland, I think Cleveland is still a much better team, so I'm going to take the Browns to cover the 6.5.
Yeah, I'm with you. Combination of Giants not looking great this year. Browns typically play well at home. I'm going to take the Browns here to win and cover as well. All right. Next, we have the 1-1 Chicago Bears heading to Circle City to face off against the 0-2 Indianapolis Colts, 1 p.m. at Lucas Oil Stadium on CBS. The Bears continue their road trip after a Sunday night loss to the Houston Texans, while the Colts come back to Indy after a 6-point loss to the Green Bay Packers. The Colts are favored by 1.5 at home.
Yeah, I struggled with this one. I just don't think the Colts can lose again. Like I think they have a get right game here, so I'm going to take the Colts minus 1.5.
Yeah, I have the exact same notes down here. Colts need to find a way to slow down the rush. The Bears need to find a way to protect Caleb, but I'm going to take the Colts to get a W here. I just don't see them getting an 0-3 start. All right, the 2-0 Houston Texans travel north to Mill City to battle the 2-0 Minnesota Vikings, 1 p.m. at US Bank Stadium on CBS. The Texans look to make it 3 in a row after beating the Bears in Houston on Sunday night, while the Vikings try to continue their Cinderella start to the season after a 6-point win over the 49ers in Minneapolis and try to make it 3 in a row themselves. The Texans are favored by 2.5.
Yeah, I think the Minnesota Vikings are fraudulent. I'm going to take the Texans minus 2.5 here.
Yeah, Sam Darnold's looked damn good this season. This one should be a fun game. CJ plays better at home on the road. If this spread were up a point, I may consider Minnesota, but I'm going to take the Texans here to win and cover. Next up, the 1-1 Philadelphia Eagles head to the Big Easy to play the 2-0 New Orleans Saints, 1 p.m. at Caesars Superdome on Fox. Philly looks to shake off a late loss against the Falcons in Philly on Monday night, while the Saints return home after a 44-19 drubbing of the Cowboys in Dallas. The Saints are favored by 2.5.
Yeah, I don't like that it's a road game, but I think it is a get right spot. It'll be a short week for them still, but I do like the Eagles to go in there and actually win this game.
Yeah, the reason that I'm going with New Orleans is specifically because of this short week. They're going to have another game without AJ Brown. I just think this is going to be a little too much to overcome, and the Saints crowd's going to be crazy after these last two games. So I'm going to go with New Orleans here to win and cover. The 2-0 LA Chargers continue their East Coast road trip as they head to Steel City to face off against the 2-0 Pittsburgh Steelers, 1 p.m. at Acrisure Stadium on CBS. The Chargers are coming off a 26-3 win over the Carolina Panthers, while the Steelers return home after a big road win against the Denver Broncos. Steelers are favored by 1.5.
Yeah, I know the Chargers didn't even go home after the Carolina game. They've stayed out there on the East Coast. I just think I actually like what the Chargers are doing, but with the game being in Pitt, I just like the Steelers to go ahead and get the win and the cover in this one.
Yeah, this was another tough one. This is going to be
extremely low over under too, 35.5.
Yeah, it's going to be a battle. I think Vegas knows it too with this 1.5. It's going to be fun to see if Harbaugh can keep this running game humming against one of the better defenses in the league. I'm going to take Harbaugh plus the points here to get a tight win against the Steelers in Pittsburgh. Next up, the 0-2 Denver Broncos hit the road to the Big Guava to battle the 2-0 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 1 p.m. at the Ray J on Fox. Broncos are coming off a 7-point loss to the Steelers in Denver, while the Bucs return to Tampa after getting a big road win against the Lions in Detroit. Tampa Bay is favored by 6.5.
Yeah, I still have no faith in Denver at all, and Tampa's clicking pretty well right now. I like what they're doing. I know they had some injuries on defense last week. I don't know if those guys are coming back yet this week, but still, I do like Tampa in this one minus the 6.5.
Yeah, I was a little concerned about what Tampa was going to look like, especially in the secondary with all those injuries from last week, but they just beat Detroit, so I don't think they're going to have any issue with the Broncos, especially at home. I am going to take Tampa here. Next up, the 1-1 Green Bay Packers hit the road to Music City to play the 0-2 Tennessee Titans, 1 p.m. at Nissan Stadium on Fox. Green Bay is coming off a 6-point win over the Colts in Malik Willis's first game, filling in for the injured Jordan Love, and now he gets a little bit of a revenge matchup. While the Titans are searching for their first win of the year after losing to the Jets by 7 in Nashville, Titans are favored by 2.5 at home.
Yeah, I never really thought we'd be talking about a Malik Willis revenge game, but here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah. I think the Titans just have to finally get one of these wins. They should have won every game so far. Packers don't have Love back, and I mean, they just abused the Colts last week by running the ball. I think Tennessee's a little bit different. So I do like Tennessee at home in this one to cover the 2.5.
Yeah, Green Bay is going to lean on the ground game here, pressure Levis into making a mistake, but I think he's got to get his head straight. I think this is probably going to be the game to do it. I am going to take the Titans here minus the 2.5 points to get the win at home. Next up, first of our 4 p.m. matches, if you can believe that. 0-2, I should say. Carolina Panthers as they head out to Sin City to face the 1-1 Las Vegas Raiders. 4:05 p.m. at Allegiant Stadium on CBS. The Panthers are coming off a 23-point loss at the hands of the visiting Chargers, while the Raiders return to Vegas riding high after getting a 3-point win over the Ravens in Baltimore. The Raiders are favored by 5.5.
Yeah, I know we don't normally do this, but I'm going to throw in a bonus lock this week, and my bonus lock is the Raiders minus 5.5.
Doubling up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand why. I like Andy Dalton. I wouldn't want him as my starting quarterback, but he seems like a nice enough dude. I don't think the Red Rocket's going to make much of a difference here. There's too many inefficiencies to fix on this team. I am going to roll with the Raiders here, minus the points.
It does not matter who the quarterback is for that team.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. Next up, 1-1 Miami Dolphins travel to the Pacific Northwest to meet the 2-0 Seattle Seahawks, 4:05 at Lumen Field on CBS. Miami comes off a bit of a long rest after a 3-touchdown loss last Thursday at the hands of the Bills, while Seattle comes home and looks to make it 3 straight after beating the Patriots by 3 in overtime on Sunday. Kenneth Walker is going to be out of this game. It sounds like the Seahawks are favored by 5.5.
Yeah, I like Seattle at home with the Dolphins not having Tua, so I'm going to take Seattle minus 5.5.
Yep. A little bit of a difficult game to predict here without Kenneth Walker because they do lean on that run game, but Geno's been slinging it. It's going to be difficult.
Charbonnet is good too, though. I think they'll be all right.
Yeah. I am also taking Seattle here at home, minus the 5.5. Next up, the 1-1 Detroit Lions head to the desert to battle the 1-1 Arizona Cardinals, 4:25 at State Farm Stadium on Fox. Lions look to shake off a tough 4-point loss to Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, while the Cardinals look to make it 2 in a row after a surprising 31-point beatdown of the LA Rams in Phoenix. The Lions are favored by 3.
Yeah, traveling out west. I'm going to take the Lions to cover the 3. Obviously, we need to get some things fixed and hopefully nowhere near the injuries from last week. My God, there were a lot, but everyone seems to be pretty much ready to play again, though. I don't think there's going to be any long-term injuries. So but we'll see once the injury reports start coming out during the week. But I do like the Lions minus 3 in this one in a get-right game.
Yeah, Lions went 5-0 or 5-1, against the spread as the road favorite last year. So I like those odds. I'm going to take the Lions here to win and cover as well. The 0-2 Baltimore Ravens are traveling to Jerry World to face the 1-1 Dallas Cowboys, 4:25 p.m. at AT&T Stadium on Fox. The Ravens are surprisingly still looking for their first win after a tough 3-point loss to the Raiders in Baltimore, while the Cowboys look to erase last Sunday's game from memory after they were manhandled from start to finish by the Saints in Dallas to the tune of 44-19. The Ravens are favored by 1.5 in Jerry World.
Yeah, so sometimes when I look at NFL lines and I bet NFL, I have a philosophy of this just isn't going to happen. And my philosophy is the Ravens going 0-3 just isn't going to happen. So I'm going to take the Ravens minus 1.5.
Yeah, this is a tough one for me to call out here. Baltimore leads the league in offense right now. Dallas gave up almost 200 rushing yards last week. That does not bode well for them now that they're going up against Derrick Henry. Dallas has not lost back-to-back home games since 2020 when Andy Dalton was the quarterback after Dak got knocked out. But I hate to do it, but I got to go Baltimore minus the 1.5 to get the W in Jerry World. All right. Next up here, we've got the San Fran 49ers. This is the last of our 4 p.m. matchups. 1-1 San Francisco 49ers as they head to Inglewood to meet the 0-2 Los Angeles Rams. 4:25 p.m. at SoFi Stadium on Fox. San Fran looks to regroup after a surprising loss to the Minnesota Vikings in Minneapolis, while the Rams return home. And as both teams continue to battle injuries, the Rams got beat 41-10 at the hands of the Arizona Cardinals. The Niners are favored by 7.5.
Yeah, with the exception of one of my favorite NFL games ever, the Rams beating the Niners in the NFC Championship game, McVay's kind of been owned by Shanahan. So and with all the injuries, like I just don't see how. Now, this is the game last year that McVay kicked a field goal for no reason at the end of the game that cost me the cover. But this, it literally is the same situation too. But I like the Niners. I actually think that this one might get out of hand. I think they win this one pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean, Matt is going to be out there with Demarcus Robinson, Tutu Atwell. Like he just maybe they can get Kyron Williams and Blake Corum going. I mean, maybe they lean a little bit more into the run game.
They actually haven't even been. They've been using my guy from Fresno, Ronnie Rivers. I don't know what's up with Blake, with Blake Corum, but I mean Ronnie's awesome, so I love seeing it. But it is interesting that Corum really hasn't got much run yet.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. I'm with you though. I was hopeful for a big year for the Rams, but it's just tough to overcome.
Yeah, too many injuries.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with the Niners here to get the win and cover. Our Sunday night matchup has the 2-0 Kansas City Chiefs in their first road game of the season as they head to the A to face off against the 1-1 Atlanta Falcons. 8:20 p.m. at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on NBC. KC looks to make it 3 straight after a nail-biter of a win over the Bengals, while the Falcons return home looking to carry their momentum after a come-from-behind win against the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday night in Philly. Chiefs are favored by 3.5.
Yeah, Chiefs in prime time inside on a turf field. I'm taking the Chiefs every time, minus the 3.5. I don't think Atlanta's that good. I think that they were the benefit of terrible clock management last night. I just think the Chiefs are way too much, and obviously they're still in their little lull. They don't cover too much, but this one's a little lower at 3.5, so I do like the Chiefs here.
Yeah, you took a majority of my notes there. Prime time, inside, Pat Mahomes. He typically does pretty well there, so I'm going to take KC here to win and cover. Folks, we are getting treated with not one, but 2 Monday Night Football matchups this week. Unfortunately, neither of these are fantastic games, but here we go. Our first matchup features the 0-2 Jacksonville Jaguars as they head to Orchard Park to go up against the 2-0 Buffalo Bills. 7:30 p.m. kickoff at Highmark Stadium on ESPN. The Jags are coming off a 5-point loss to the Cleveland Browns in Jacksonville, while the Bills look to start the season 3-0 after a big 31-10 win over the Dolphins in Miami last Thursday. The Bills are favored by 5.5.
Yeah, I still think the Bills are a little fraudulent, but at home, less than 7, prime time, crowd will be amped up. I like Buffalo in this one.
Yeah, Bills have looked pretty good this season despite a lackluster wide receiver room. Cooks looked really solid. Jags keep losing close games. That's the thing that kind of puts me in a pause.
Hopefully that asshole decides to start throwing the ball to Keon Coleman.
Yeah, I mean,
he hasn't used him at all.
Some Florida State guys got to get some love here soon. It's not happening in college. Yeah, I think the difference here is going to be Buffalo at home. Night game. I'm going to go with the Bills here to win and cover. Another close loss for the Jags. Our second of our Monday Night Football matchups as the 1-1 Washington Commanders heading to Queen City to battle the 0-2 Cincinnati Bengals. 8:15 p.m. kickoff at Paycor Stadium on ABC. Commanders are coming off a 3-point win at home over the New York Giants, while the Bengals attempt to right the ship and get their first W after a tough 1-point loss to the Chiefs in Kansas City on Sunday. Big spread here. Bengals are favored by 8.5.
Yeah, Daniels left the game with an injury and then came back last week for Washington. I think he actually could have a pretty successful night against Cincinnati's defense. Man, this one's a tough one for me, actually. 8.5 is a lot, too. I'll take Cincinnati minus 8.5.
Yeah, this was a difficult one for me to pick. Since he's 2 weeks in, it already feels like they're kind of in a must-win situation. To Washington's credit, they protected the ball well with the Ricky signal caller. Bengals should have won the game in KC. I think they return home here with a little frustration and they want to take it out on Washington in a primetime matchup, but I don't like this 8.5 point spread. So I'm going to take the Commanders here plus the points. All right, guys, that is it for our picks. Let us jump into our locks of the week. Hey, who are you going with?
My lock of the week is the Houston Texans -2.5 on the road in Minnesota.
I am locking in on the Lions -3 at Arizona Cardinals. I think it may take 4 quarters to get there, but I'm locking in on the Detroit Lions. All right, let's move into our underdog picks. Jake?
Dog of the week. The guy that preaches dog mentality. Give me the Eagles +132 on the road at New Orleans.
I cannot stand that dude. My underdog pick of the week is the LA Chargers +106 at Pittsburgh Steelers. It is a very close line. It's only -1.5 for Pittsburgh, but I think Coach Harbaugh is going to go in there and ground and pound it and get his way to a W. Lock me in here on the Chargers. All right, guys, that is it for us for week 3. Hopefully we have a better week this week than we did last week. Obviously, everybody is struggling a little bit there. This parody is making things interesting.
Just bet the locks. It's the saying.
Yeah, just bet the locks. We tend to go through that for a couple weeks anyway. So that is it for us here, guys. TNT Tuesday Night Touchdown Podcast, NFL Edition, Week 3 picks for Jacob Workman. This is Reese Downing. Please like, share, subscribe. Push us on Facebook, X, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all that fun stuff. We will see you guys next week.
Eat 'em up, Lions. Eat 'em up.